Hello my friends and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am Jonathan, your host here at QuickBird Gaming, and I appreciate you tuning in for my next video in my series, How Does It Play Today?, where we look back on video games celebrating their 25th anniversary. Now, for this episode, I have chosen a game that I think has a lot of love out there and is one of my personal favorites, and that is Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy X was released in 2001 on the PS2. It's since been ported to other systems. I am playing a version here from Steam that has been remastered. It's had the graphics touched up a little bit, but it is otherwise the same as the original version. Like most of the modern Final Fantasy franchise, Final Fantasy X, or Final Fantasy X if you prefer, is a limited open world game with a degree of turn-based combat that leans very heavily into cinematics for its narrative. There's a lot of storytelling going on in this game. This was also the first game in the franchise that was fully voiced, and so you've got the voice acting going on here, and that adds an element to the gameplay. The player starts out as Tidus, a young man who is a star blitzball player in the city of Zanarkand and is nursing an enormous amount of resentment towards his missing father, who was also a star blitzball player back in the day. During an important blitzball match, the city of Zanarkand comes under attack by a massive unknown entity which lays waste to the city. Tidus is able to barely escape, and when he wakes up, he has no knowledge of what has happened to him or where he has landed. He finds he is in a new world called Spira, completely unsure how he got there or what happened to everything he used to know. Tidus is then joined by a diverse cast of characters, including Wakka, who is a blitzball captain of the hopelessly inept Besaid Aurochs team, Lulu, a black mage with kind of a surly, no-nonsense attitude, Kimahri, a Ronso warrior who has lost his horn, who's very gruff and quiet, Auron, a veteran soldier who is known not only to Tidus from his previous life, but also the current characters, and Riku, a crew member from a kind of pirate/scavenger ship. Most importantly, Tidus meets Yuna. She is a summoner whose job is to go on a pilgrimage, gather enough powers and resources to eventually defeat Sin, which was the massive being that laid waste to Zanarkand and will do so to Spira if not stopped. Tidus and the others act as Yuna's guardians, protecting her on her journey to her pilgrimage until she can reach Sin and stop the entity from destroying Spira, and them working together to protect her forms the core of the story. Like every other Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy X has a unique character progression system. In this case, it is the Sphere Grid. It allows the player to go through and upgrade health, gain new abilities, magic resistance, and pretty much every stat that goes along with the character. Every character has their own section of the grid, but the whole thing is connected, which means eventually you can double up on powers for characters, and the upgrades are earned through traveling, fighting, and so on. Combat is 100% turn-based, and by that I mean nothing proceeds until your character takes an action. It will stay there, allowing you time to think about what you want to do. During each character's turn, they can make an attack, use an item, cast a spell, or swap out with another character that's kind of in the bullpen, as you saw just right there. And here you'll see Yuna swap out for Kimahri. And you can also see the order of combat in the top right screen, which allows you to plan out how you want your attack sequence to go. Okay, now that I've kind of laid out the basics and given you a brief intro to the game, we have to always ask our favorite question of this series. In 2026, 25 years after publication, how does it play today? I'm just going to say it. This game holds up amazingly, even ridiculously well against modern games. It's not perfect. There are some issues with this PC port. Specifically, there is no native mouse support outside the main menu, so if you don't have a controller, navigating and using the menus is going to be kind of clunky. The voice work is not necessarily great. This was the first fully voiced game, and some of the voice work, like I said, is not awesome. Some characters like Auron sound suitably badass, but a lot of the main cast, it sounds kind of stunted. And there is a notorious laughter scene. If you're curious, look up laughter scene from Final Fantasy X, and you'll see it is as cringeworthy as people have said. But put those minor complaints to the side, and you see that this game brings an absurd amount of value to the player. First of all, it's a pretty long game. You could easily put 100 hours into it if you try to do all the optional content without even blinking. So this is a game that once you get into it, you can spend a lot of time in the world of Spira. The story is incredibly involved, much broader than the scope of this video could ever cover, with a lot of subplots, and every character kind of has their own character art to some extent, which get resolved, and all of it weaves together into a really interesting narrative, one of the better ones I've seen, with a very, you could classify it as a heartbreaking or bittersweet ending once it's resolved. And it is really in depth, and the world just lives and breathes, and it's so much fun to explore. I absolutely love the characters in this game. They're all so different, and they all fill such a different role, not just in the narrative, but when you get around to fighting too. They have very distinct ways to participate, even though the sphere grid, ultimately, every character can have the same set of powers if you play long enough and fill out the sphere grid, their advancement system long enough. Really, through the bulk of the game, they will have their roles in combat. And like I said, their personalities are all lovable, and it's just so much fun to travel with them. A huge point of this game is the combat, and I don't just mean the animations and the sound, although that is all good, and the music especially is really good, but a big factor is every character who participates in combat will gain experience from it, and by that I mean perform some offensive or defensive measure. But you can only have 3 characters on the field at once, so the object kind of becomes to weave as many characters into combat, in every combat as you can, to get more experience for them across the board. I mean, you could concentrate on 3 and just level them up, but me being kind of a control freak type personality, this was perfect fodder. Now here is an example of what I consider to be a good combat, and I just, even just watching it, I really get a sense of enjoyment out of it.
Well then, what next?
Of course, you have that iconic Final Fantasy victory theme at the end of the fight, and it just is better than ever here, in my opinion. Yuna also has her Aeon summons, and they are amazing and just a spectacular display. When you get tired of fighting and grinding, the game actually features a whole host of optional content. The most notorious of which is probably the game known as Blitzball. It's a combination of football, or as we call it in the States, soccer, and rugby played in a vast underwater tank between two teams of 5. Titus and Waka are in the story are involved in a playoff game with their team. There's only one game required by the story. It doesn't matter if you win or lose, but I think this Blitzball gets its bad reputation from that in-story game because the controls and the rules can be a little difficult to follow, but the real rub here is your team is so underpowered compared to the opposing team in terms of skill level that it's a very difficult game to win. Again, you don't have to win that later, but you can come back after you've adventured more. You can start recruiting other people to be on your team who are much more skilled, and there's a whole league structure and playoffs involved. I actually think Square Enix could have made a separate game from Blitzball if they had dressed it up a little bit and added some more complexity. If Blitzball's not your thing, there are other things, including chocobo races, because you got to have chocobos because it's a Final Fantasy game, and hunting for treasure from Chocobo back. This is a sequence to catch butterflies, and some weird person's idea of fun that involves dodging lightning 200 times. Now, none of this content is mandatory except for that one Blitzball game. It is all optional, though the optional content usually leads to some of the characters' most powerful weapons, their ultimate weapons, and you will need really good gear to deal with some of the top optional bosses in this game. Even if you never fight those bosses, the optional content in the game is just great for breaking things up when you're tired of grinding. Okay, so how does it play today? Well, I think if the answer wasn't obvious, I think this game holds up incredibly well. For a game that's 25 years old, it still has a great story. The gameplay is in depth, and the strategic planning when you're fighting is still a lot of fun. Final Fantasy X routinely shows up in the list of best Final Fantasy games and games in the franchise. It routinely shows up in the top 3 or 4 among people's list. It's really well liked and admired even to this day. There's some things like the turn-based fighting that I don't think have been surpassed in the series. So I wholeheartedly recommend this for anyone who likes turn-based fantasy. You must give this one a go. Okay, I'm going to leave this one here. As always, I thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you watching this video. I am still working on games from 2001 for this series. If you have a game you'd like to see featured on How Does It Play Today, drop a comment down below. Let me know. If you enjoyed this content, please leave a comment and let me know what you thought. Drop a like on it, and if you're really enjoying the content on the channel, I would love to have your subscription. I thank you in advance for that. All right, so I'm going to be moving on to the next game here. Like I said, I appreciate you tuning in. Until I see you next time, you all go out there, live your best lives, and you all stay gaming.